Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast with Louis Shulman. I think it's a round three, Louis. I love having
Round
you on
three.
because you're such a brain, and it's always fun to go back and forth. So yeah, dude, what have you been up to since last time we spoke? A year ago, I think
Yeah, it
was.
was a year ago. So I moved back to New York City. That's been great. I'm running the same business, running the same offer. We've added a few things to it to make it better, more valuable, but otherwise that's the same. So helping people with their newsletters. Up until maybe 6, 7 months ago, we were just doing copywriting and strategy, but now we're also helping people grow their list, which kind of gives us the opportunity to build a full acquisition funnel from scratch and really get more involved in terms of being, just a consultant helping you publish a newsletter to almost like a fractional CMO, really thinking holistically about your entire brand strategy and your positioning and building a channel from scratch rather than being like, hey, you've got this existing list and you don't do much with it. We'll do something with it to like, no, like, let's just make a whole new channel for you. So that's been really exciting and fun. Otherwise, it's just been different projects in pursuit of that one aim. So like I still do most of our sales and marketing. So I've been having fun, obviously, building with AI. That's probably a big topic for a lot of people. Augmenting my CRM, building my own little tools. That's been really fun these past couple of weeks. And then also just, the mindset of staying in the game and the continuity and coming up on year 3 or year 4 of the 2 different businesses. So all is well.
There you go. The dating aspect of your life and the fitness, how's that gone? Because last time we spoke about these two things. Any progress on that?
Any progress? I've run a mile every Saturday since May without any breaks. So like it's not like a crazy athletic achievement. It's just like I hate not being good at running. Like there's nothing more frustrating than going for a run and feeling out of shape when you've been in the shape in the past. Cause it's like there's no high quite like just like flying on a run effortlessly. And so anytime life gets in the way and you fall off that training, it's just the most frustrating thing ever. And so it's like, I just never want that to happen again. And so at minimum baseline commitment, I've been 1 mile. That's enough to like not get out of shape. Right. And just like slightly make a little bit of progress every week. A couple weeks I've been sick, super sick. I just walk, but I still am on Strava, hit the mile, and I would have done nothing. I would have stayed in bed the entire day. I don't care if I have to crawl through the snow. And then I added Wednesdays as well, like 2 or 3 months in. So that's been great. I did a powerlifting competition in October, competed in amateur. That was cool. I have another one in 11 days. So that'll be fun. And yeah, those have been good. Dating's been good. I moved to New York. So that's been a big step up from the scene that I had in Phoenix, mostly because I only date Jewish people. So just bigger dynamic demographic, whatever. So no complaints, man.
What do you have to say about the power of competitions, right? Like having a fixed date in your mind, fixed objective, training for it. And how do you apply that mindset to your business?
I think a lot of there's this, do you know Akira the Don? Have we talked about him?
Nope.
He's an artist on Spotify and he makes like mixes. This is like the most podcast bro-y thing that's ever going to come out of my mouth. But like he like mixes, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and David Goggins and like all of the podcast bro circuit and Naval into like lo-fi tracks, or he like puts them, like clips them up and puts them on lo-fi. And I used to love his stuff and I still do. And it's like psychotic to listen to it, but why not? You got to program everything you're consuming, programs you one way or the other. And there's somewhere I'm going with this about, so what was the original question? Because that'll help me remember the tie-in I was getting to.
The competition.
Yeah. And so you have to, there's this one track that's like, he doesn't just do this for like new age people. He also does sort of like cool, like obviously Alan Watts, but like all some of these other esoteric speakers. And there's this one talk about like this that was delivered over the radio of how this one guy would like destroy American society. He's like, if I were the devil and wanted to destroy America, here's what I would do. And he like lists all these things. It's like how to guarantee misery. And so if you write the essay, how to guarantee I'll be miserable, that's kind of where I'm going with this. It'd be like, have complete ambiguity around what's enough from me in my life right now. It's like you want to be able to say and express as a sentence, if the only thing I achieve professionally this year is X, I will be satisfied with my year, right? Because if your goals are as big as possible, as quickly as possible, it's impossible to hit, right? And so same thing in the gym. I want to be as big as possible, as quickly as possible, as strong as possible, as fast as possible, etc. It's just being like the surest path to like misery and driving yourself insane is not having clear answers to those questions. And so what am I training for? I'm just like, again, we discussed this a second ago of like, it is so emotionally taxing to put effort into something and not see progress in it. So it's like, what is the baseline level of commitment at this thing to either maintain or at least maintain a slow march of progress? Because I'm not an athlete. I don't care to professionally be an athlete, but I'm like, if I'm going to go to the gym, I don't want to just go, right? I want to like go to work towards something. And so it's just so impossible to maintain that. Not impossible, but difficult and unlikely to do that without some structure. So same thing in your business, same thing in like anything. It's just like, if you don't have clarity around, I just had a check-in call with a client who's taking a break from writing this newsletter with us. I'm like, let's see what happened. And honestly, he's like, his thinking made sense because he's like, we're rethinking this part of the business, we're rethinking this part of the business. And so it's like, if you are just not clear on these priorities in your business right now, like we're just going to amplify the ambiguity and just like add more chaos to your life. It's like only when you have clear answers to this of like, well, what's the goal of the newsletter? He's like, I don't even know right now. It's like, all right, then obviously, like, what are we optimizing towards? There's no parameters to make decisions around. And that's a frustrating place to be.
Right. And my question is more like business wise, how do you make your goals feel like an actual fucking competition, right? Like me, and also the right frame of that question for me would be like, how do you make your business feel like a video game? I think is a better frame.
I think the competitiveness relates, I think it comes from peers or something that's always like, what are your sources of motivation? Different people have kind of different intrinsic things that just click or don't click. And so for me, finding people who are like, I think as smart or not even more smart, just like someone that you feel equal to, like that person is no better than me, but they are doing better than me. If that, like, that's a source of frustration, right? Like anyone who I know that I'm like, well, I've met this guy, we've hung out and they don't have any special sauce. There's no magic. There's no innate ability they have that I don't have. So why the hell are they doing better? And like, that's like, I think internal competition isn't something we do a ton with. I have other people on the team that do sales, right? So it's like, I love to set appointments and like be like, look, here, look at this call script. I just did it. Like you always want to prove that you still got it in terms of like with the writers, like, look, I just wrote this banger newsletter that got these replies. Like you want to still prove that you have the skill. It's not about showing people like what's up or like asserting dominance. It's just like demonstrating that, I mean, it's just fun to be like, look, like this isn't my job anymore and I can still do it. And just like, it's just that motivation. And you don't want to demoralize. It's never the goal to like tear some. It's only if it's going to also motivate the other person. I'd say like internal competition is not our greatest strength, but in terms of where myself, my business partners have been successful. I mean, you know this from doing your podcast, you meet and befriend so many people who are so extraordinary and you eventually, and like you take them off the pedestal and you're like, well, all these guys are just incredibly normal. And so why can't I have what they have? And so that's kind of an intrinsic motivator for me.
Yeah, most of the time the friend level has gone too low for me because I found out that it's either like short-term hustles, like stuff that have them win on the short term and not on the long term. For example, accepting a job at Goldman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Year one, you're definitely going to make more than Charles 10, 15 years ago. I think I started out making 100K a year or something like that. But yeah, they sacrifice health, they sacrifice time, their soul, most importantly. Like once you go there, you can never really go back to entrepreneurship. And eventually you would so much more. And then I think after that, it's been like me watching some of these Netflix documentaries showing the life of athletes behind the scenes. And these motherfuckers are making like 10 to fucking 50 million a year. And then it's like, dude, I should be making that definitely. I have systems, but I mean, these guys have worked their full childhoods to get there. Do you often compare yourself to that level of greatness?
Yeah, the athletes are an interesting one. It is often, to your point, very, very rare when someone has had a steps like skipped in the process. So like, for example, this is always an interesting one for me psychologically. Like, so I live in New York City now that I mentioned, and like the catcher for the Yankees, someone I knew my whole life growing up. And so it's like, this is someone because like he was in my same preschool class, on my lacrosse team in 7th or 8th grade. We trained at the same gym in middle and high school. But it's like, okay, to your point of like framing it, I don't think about that's a helpful frame of like, yeah, he on his path, he's 12 years ahead of the path. He's been on that path for like 12 years. He started that path at 6. So it's like what I'm doing in business, the people that you compare yourself to, it's like a lot of these young guys, it's like, no, they've been building like, here's the hustle from when they're 14, right? And so it's like they're 27, they've been doing this for 13 years. It's like, yeah, you're 26, but like you launched your thing 3 years ago. They're truly a decade ahead of you. And I always think in terms of like chunking of skills is like is something a project or a task in your mind. So like if you're a beginning entrepreneur, it's like building a logo, building a website, creating a brand presence. That's like a month or whatever. You're like, each of those is their own project. For me, I'm like, okay, 7 minutes later, what's next? It's like, we've got the website, we've got the logo, we've got the like, and so it's like you compress each of those into a smaller task in your mind. So I don't know if like comparing myself to athletes happens that often, because I've just never like considered myself someone on the pro athlete track. It's just they've taken like a different life
The
path.
salary part mostly, yeah. I think it's like they're also sort of sabotaging their bodies, and most of them have a hard time, even if you get in the NFL, right? Like having a post career, and we
Oh yeah,
business
NFL is the
people are
worst. I'm
creating
not jealous of football
systems. Yeah.
players.
Yeah, and but
I'm not
also
jealous of
most sport,
football
I think the
players.
worst dude is like UFC for sure, but it's also like the most impressive, right? Like it's definitely the guys I will always look up to UFC fighters, whatever my life situation is, because these guys take so much risk and have so much courage. It's like the closest to yeah, testosterone and courage. Like yeah, I cannot
Being a
stop,
warrior.
but yeah, and dude, I mean, you're alone in the cage and millions are watching you. You might get knocked the fuck out. It's the closest to having low ego, right? Isn't it? And it's the closest to taking as much risk as possible, because your fall might be very fucking big. You might get injured. You're so close to danger and dramatic failure. Would you agree?
Yeah, I've not thought like I've never. It's not like a path that I'm like, oh, I really feel a FOMO for having not lived that life of the pro fighter.
Oh, I
So
would never go. I mean, in a parallel life, I could have been that, or a special ops soldier for sure. A special ops would have been more myself, I think.
that would have been cool.
Um,
Yeah, sometimes I'm like that would have been pretty cool.
and I don't
Special ops.
discard the probability of it happening. As I mean, I'm getting pretty old, but if ever, I don't know, my life goes to shit, right? Like everyone dies in my life, I might go like very much savage mode, and I don't know, train for something like that. Who knows? But don't you like check these people for actual, yeah, for example, there's the Cam Hines book, right, that just gone out. Not sure if you've started listening to it, but he talks with a lot of UFC and type of ultra runners, type of athletes, and I just get personally a lot of wisdom as a business owner from there, because it's so rare, the founders that grind and are successful. It's like Elon, I guess, but Elon, I'm not so much more of a fan, and it makes it so obvious in this sport that you can either fail or make it, and it's so obvious that they have the next level of mindset that you need as a founder to be successful.
Yeah, there's little snippets that I find helpful. Like you don't achieve outlier outcomes with outlier inputs. It just doesn't happen. And so like you don't get off the charts, not off the charts, but like, I mean, it's the same sense, like outlier. Like if you want to have a different set of outcomes than most people have, you're going to have a different set of inputs. It's like you need to have unique behaviors,
Or
need to
environments.
environments as well, which is similar. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like weekends I've just spent working on random things, and like a lot of people don't do that. And like, okay, well, there's also a lot of things like I don't want, if you don't, it's kind of everything's input output equations. And so I don't have the same, I haven't had any of those, like I'm sure I've had like similar thought patterns to some of those, but less like the fighter specifically. But yeah, I take a lot of, I think in each season of my life, there's generally like one, I'd say like mentor figure, like distant mentor figure that you tend to like obsess over and like really want to emulate. And so it's probably not like, I'd say last season, I'm not sure if I'm still in it, but like definitely had a big Alex Hormozy season.
I was
And
about to say it,
yeah,
with the books
and
behind you.
that's right. And I'm honestly not in that season right now, because I was talking with a friend about this. There's so much, every time you listen to something like that, you're like analyzing what you're doing and you think you need to switch something. And it's like the thing you need to do, like the novel thing is not switching. It's like staying with the same thing long after you're bored of it. And because he's always like, well, you're doing this, because all of his advice, you know, could cancel to zero if you don't like, it's not inconsistent in his minds, but in your minds, there's still nuance you're not understanding. It's the classic, like when you listen to someone, you try to copy what you can see on the surface and you're not copying the right part of it. It's like the example Alex would use is like, you know, if you want to become rich, you don't start flying on private jets. It's like, well, rich people fly on private planes. Like I should fly in private planes if I want to be rich. It's like, no, like that happened after. Like that didn't help them become rich. That now that they're rich, they just happen to do that thing. And so sometimes you just listen to these things and you grasp what you hear when there's like if Alex were to sit in the room with you right now and fully understand your full situation, he would not be like, change these things, because he's not talking directly to you when he makes the thing. And so I know right now there's not, I don't say I'm like in a good spot of not the comparison game, but I like to set, again, one goal, like we talked about at the very beginning, that feels attainable for the year, for the month, for the thing, and be pretty closed off to other sources. Because otherwise it's like you're either letting everything in, you're letting nothing in, or you're just constraints and systems if you want to keep your own head on straight. Like this is something I've tweeted or LinkedIn a few times. It's like there's really 3 things you have to do when you're in business. It's get your first customer, keep them happy, and then keep yourself from going crazy. Because the whole game is just the first 2 and not destroying things. And you destroy things when you go crazy. So it's like if you have customers and they're happy and you're able to get more of them and keep them happy, those are the only things you need to worry about. And then just don't go crazy and meddle.
Yeah, I think the first thing, the first meta game you need to play once you're not beginning in your business journey is deconstructing not what someone says, but how they act in their systems. For example, in Hormozy's case, it's his YouTube videos, right? I guess the most obvious thing. How does he make them Mr. Beastly? How does he get so many views? When you compare yourself with the guy, it's just you straight up lost. It's like Elon. There can be some areas where it's inspiring, but dude, the guy made 100 fucking million per day in one day. So that's some heavy shit. That's a lot to digest, but then you can start deconstructing this. It's audience building. It's all the free goodwill he's been building, which I think in modern human history, I don't know anyone else that has built more goodwill than this guy from the business owner community. That was super impressive. Then what I caught on you speaking about goals, I've done like so many years in which it was one introspection and analyzing everything with numbers. But that led me not to go again with the monthly goal setting with numbers and all that rational stuff. Nowadays, it's more emotional and free flowing. It's like, where do I want to get? And even as a guy that's not super emotional, I thought I wasn't, I really got to connect with the feeling of success itself. And I feel that propels me in a better direction, because my ultimate goal in life is just like accumulating as much energy, which can mean energy, time, power, right? For example, as like energy efficient wise, as energy and efficiently wise as possible. And that may mean like aging not as fast as possible, right? So my biological age is a thing, but the point is, I felt that the rational thing and always having like numbers in front of me and moonshotting specifically didn't bring as much benefit as I thought it would. Have you experimented on these fringes, and what does your goal setting structure and routine looks like?
Yeah, and then I'll have to jump in a few minutes, unfortunately. But I think there's a book I'm reading right now called Unhinged Habits by Jonathan Goodman. I'm enjoying it. It just came out, and I had him on my podcast a few years ago. He has a lot of great reframes, but just about like seasonality. So like there are seasons of life where like all of these things are so relative and psychological. So it's like when you call a goal something that's emotional, it's like it's because for some reason you've been able to tie an emotion to the goal. It's like you can tie an emotion to a number, right? And you can tie feelings to a number sometimes. If you connect like, well, once I achieve this, it means this thing, then it's a very strong emotional connection to the goal versus an intrinsic goal. So I've also had, rather than let's say we want to make this much money this year, we want to produce this many case studies this year because I really care about crushing it for clients. Like that's something where we were less involved with clients in the past and like had a lower touch relationship with a lot of clients. It's like, let's make a higher touch relationship with fewer clients and be motivated by the outcomes. But then even that, just picking a number somewhere and tying it to some other thing. It's more about silencing intrusive thoughts than it is like whatever the inverse of that would be, which is like the intrusive thought is I'm not doing enough. Like there's just no limit, right? There's no stopping point. Exactly. And behind. And so you just have to think through the exercise and run the numbers and like draw it out of like, okay, well, because if I make one case study this year, do I feel good about the year? Probably not. Because I'm like, one case study, like it's got to be at least 2. And it's like, okay, well, only 2. I have a team of 10 people. I don't want to fire any of them. Like, everyone's gonna be idle. It's like, all right, well, 20 or something. Like that makes sense. And then it's like, is that the perfect number? I don't know. But like having no number, having total ambiguity, it's hard to, because again, with a team, I'm not the only person whose motivational management I need to consider, right? I also need to think about a goal that's right sized for every other person on the team that's going to like get them up in the morning. So it's like, and then you can sit someone down one-on-one and show them the numbers of like, if we hit this many clients this year, and if this many of them become case studies, and if this many of them convert from the initial project to the retainer, then that's the spot we'll be in. That's the spot you'll be in. So it's just like the realities of not just managing my own psychology, but like showing a future and a vision in concrete terms for other people as well. So like it's
building an ecosystem.
You can't argue with this, right? You can't argue with this. Like if we do this, we'll have this money. And if we don't do this, we won't have this money. So that thing you want only happens if we do this. And people like don't have anything to argue with. It's like, all right, well, we should probably just get back to work.
Yeah, and building an ecosystem, I think, is important, right? In my case, I'm trying to build the biggest, largest, most solid founder ecosystem, especially funded AI founders ecosystem. And when your clients become business partners and become salespeople and start doing stuff with you at a win-win level, I think that's really when you win. So like, do you feel that you're building that type of community in the end? Do you think that it's self-propelling and self-replicating at this moment?
Yeah, I think if I stop putting my foot on the gas, it might like, will go for a while and then fizzle out. I don't know if it's like enough where I could disappear forever and it would be self-propelling, but it's certainly most of the things, or a massive percentage of the good things that happen to us are the results of old things set in motion, right? Rather than like new things that it's not like new prospecting, it's old prospecting, it's old relationships, it's old referrals. So like the inertia that's already been created for sure, the gravity, if you want to call it that. But it's like, let's still create more because let's can't assume all those people will, there's just too many factors. The world's very complex.
Yeah. And people are really distracted, right? And they have lots of options, which is beautiful and painful at the same time. But yeah, it comes back to the goodwill reserve we've talked about when we started the pod. Louis, thanks for being on. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Louis Shulman, no C in Shulman, Louis. I'm on Google, YouTube, and love these conversations.
All right.
Charles, it's a pleasure.